Hello and welcome to JuniperGraceTube episode number 22. Ava Kitty wanted to say hello as well. Hi, Ava Kitty. I don't know how impressed she is. Okay, relax. Anyways, welcome here. I'm so glad that you have come to join me and us. If you are a returning Juniper, thank you so much for coming back. And if you are brand new, welcome here. Hey. Like I said, this is episode number 22, and I am Juniper Grace. You can find me on Instagram as Juniper Grace. You can find me on Ravelry as Juniper Grace. You can find a group for the podcast on Ravelry as JuniperGraceTube. And on Twitter, I am GRaceFace. G-E-E Raceface. That was a nickname I had in college. Anyways, I'm so glad you guys are here. It has been a little while. I'm sorry. All I can say is I guess I was just busy trying to become more awesome so that I'd have more awesome things to share with you. Thumbs up. Okay, well, there's so much to tell you about. One of the biggest things that I should notice and mention right now, because I'm sure you've already noticed it, is that the fridge over here is no longer just going dunk. It has decided to go for a little while, and then dunk. So I have a feeling it's probably trying to die or something. Nope, not quite. I really hope it doesn't, and we're going to have to get it checked out and fixed. Joel kind of pulled it away from the wall and was attempting to figure it all out, but I think we need to get someone in to look at it. So for now, I do apologize. There's some extra noise that isn't just me going blah on the podcast today. But that won't stop the fun, right? Okay, sorry. I just have to take a quick picture. I'm going to Instagram a really funny moment for you guys. Okay, I think you'll appreciate this. I'll just take the picture now and I'll Instagram it in a little bit. Something behind my phone. Okay. Ava. Hi. Ava. There is a kitty helping me podcast today. And I don't tell my husband because he doesn't like her on the table. But she is sneaky and funny and always wants to be right in the middle of everything, especially when I'm at home. I'm sure you have no idea what I'm talking about if you own a cat. If you did Camp Aloha Friends and watched my crochet tutorial videos, you would have noticed that Miss Ava Kitty came and actually camped out right next to my hands while I was showing people how to crochet. Yeah. So, well, okay, I've already said it 3 times, but welcome here. I'm so glad you've come. I'm so glad you're back. Let's dive in and jump into the next chapter of Anne of Green Gables, because I'm sure you are all dying to find out what happens in chapter 9. Today, I'm going to read from this version, which is my original Anne of Green Gables, because it has a really fun illustration in chapter 9. Normally, I read from this beautiful, brand new version that was sent to me by Annie from Little Skein in the Big Wool, and a piece of paper in there. But yeah, so I wanted to share with you the cute, adorable illustration. So I suggest that you grab a delicious beverage to enjoy. I have my big jar of water, as well as some delicious coffee from Bows and Arrows. If you ever have a chance to get to Victoria, BC, which is where I'm coming from, I forgot to tell you that. I'm from Canada, and I'm from the west coast of Canada, and Victoria precisely, and there is this amazing coffee shop called Bows and Arrows. You'll see it in a lot of my Instagram shots. Their coffee is so good. It is just so good. I'm drinking the Rwanda, and it's really delicious. But I find if I don't have a cup of water with my coffee, I get a little bit dehydrated for the day. All right. Do you have your drink? Do you have your knitting? Have I chatted enough to give you time to grab those things? We are diving into chapter 9 of Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. It is entitled, Mrs. Rachel Lynde is Properly Horrified. I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like the angle is funny. Give me a second. Let's see. What if I go... Oops. it like this. Oh yeah, that's a little bit better. You can see more postcards. Okay. Now, I think I'm just thrown off because my hair is super fuzzy today. Puff levels, extremely high. Yeah, that's the downside. Or that's like the positive and the downside to having curly hair. Some days it just doesn't want to be the nicest of the curlies. But I still like it. And it's clean, so that's all that matters. Alright. I am on Tangent City today. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, chapter 9. Mrs. Rachel Lynde is properly horrified. Anne had been a fortnight at Green Gables before Mrs. Lynde arrived to inspect her. Mrs. Rachel, to do her justice, was not to blame for this. A severe and unseasonable attack of grippe had... Is it gripe or grip? Grippe. I'm going to call it gripe. I don't know what that is. If you do know, tell me in the notes for the podcast or the chat thread on Ravelry. Anyways, she had unseasonable attack of grippe had confined that good lady to her house ever since the occasion of her last visit to Green Gables. Mrs. Rachel was not often sick and had a well-defined contempt for people who were. But grippe, she asserted, was like no other illness on earth and could only be interpreted as one of the special visitations of Providence. As soon as her doctor allowed her to put her foot out of doors, she hurried up to Green Gables, bursting with curiosity to see Matthew's and Marilla's orphan, concerning whom all sorts of stories and suppositions had gone abroad in Avonlea. Surprise, surprise. Anne had made good use of every waking moment of that fortnight. Already she was acquainted with every tree and shrub about the place. She had discovered that a lane opened out below the apple orchard and ran up through a belt of woodland, and she had explored it to its furthest end in all its delicious vagaries of brook and bridge, fir coppice and wild cherry arch, corners thick with fern, and branching byways of maple and mountain ash. She had made friends with the spring down in the hollow, that wonderful, deep, clear, icy cold spring. It was set about with smooth red sandstones and rimmed in by great palm-like clumps of water fern, and beyond it was a log bridge over the brook. That bridge led Anne's dancing feet up over a wooded hill beyond, where perpetual twilight reigned under the straight, thick-growing firs and spruces. The only flowers there were myriads of delicate June bells, those shyest and sweetest of woodland blooms, and a few pale aerial starflowers, like the spirits of last year's blossoms. Gossamers glimmered like threads of silver among the trees, and the fir boughs and tassels seemed to utter friendly speech. All these raptured voyages of exploration were made in odd half hours, which she was allowed for play, and Anne talked Matthew and Marilla half deaf over her discoveries. Not that Matthew complained, to be sure. He listened to it all with a wordless smile of enjoyment on his face. Marilla permitted the chatter until she found herself becoming too interested in it, whereupon she always promptly quenched Anne by a curt command to hold her tongue. Anne was out in the orchard when Mrs. Rachel came, wandering at her own sweet will through the lush, tremulous grasses splashed with ruddy evening sunshine, so that good lady had an excellent chance to talk her illness fully over, describing every ache and pulse beat with such evident enjoyment that Marilla thought even gripe must bring its compensations. When details were exhausted, Mrs. Rachel introduced the real reason of her call. "I've been hearing some surprising things about you and Matthew." "I don't suppose you are any more surprised than I am myself," said Marilla. "I'm getting over my surprise now." "It was too bad there was such a mistake," said Mrs. Rachel sympathetically. "Couldn't you have sent her back?" "I suppose we could, but we decided not to. Matthew took a fancy to her, and I must say I like her myself, although I admit she has her faults. The house seems a different place already. She's a real bright little thing." Marilla said more than she had intended to say when she began, for she read disapproval on Mrs. Rachel's expression. "It's a great responsibility you've taken on yourself," said that lady gloomily, "especially when you've never had any experience with children. You don't know much about her or her real disposition, I suppose, and there's no guessing how a child like that will turn out. But I don't want to discourage you, I'm sure, Marilla." Uh-huh. I'm not feeling discouraged, was Marilla's dry response. When I make up my mind to do a thing, it stays made up. I suppose you'd like to see Anne. I'll call her in. Anne came running in presently, her face sparkling with the delight of her orchard rovings. But, abashed at finding herself in the unexpected presence of a stranger, she halted confusedly inside the door. She certainly was an odd-looking little creature, in the short, tight, wincey dress she had worn from the asylum, below which her thin, long legs seemed ungracefully long. Her freckles were more numerous and obtrusive than ever. The wind had ruffled her hatless hair into over-brilliant disorder. Is that what my hair? Maybe it's over-brilliant disorder. It is a bit windy today. It had never looked redder than at that moment. Well, they didn't pick you for your looks, that's sure and certain, said Mrs. Rachel Lynde's emphatic comment. Mrs. Rachel was one of those delightful and popular people who pride themselves on speaking their mind without fear or favor. She's terribly skinny and homely, Marilla. Come here, child, and let me have a look at you. Lawful heart, did anyone ever see such freckles, and hair as red as carrots? Come here, child, I say. Anne came there, but not exactly as Mrs. Rachel expected. With one bound, she crossed the kitchen floor and stood before Mrs. Rachel, her face scarlet with anger, her lips quivering and her whole slender form trembling from head to foot. I hate you, she cried in a choked voice, stamping her foot on the floor. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. A louder stamp with each assertion of hatred. Ava's scared. She's like, why are you yelling at me? How dare you call me skinny and ugly? How dare you say I'm freckled and red-headed? You are a rude, impolite, unfeeling woman. Anne, exclaimed Marilla in consternation. But Anne continued to face Mrs. Rachel undauntedly, head up, eyes blazing, hands clenched, passionate indignation exhaling from her like an atmosphere. How dare you say such things about me? She repeated vehemently. How would you like to have such things said about you? How would you like to be told that you are fat and clumsy and probably hadn't a spark of imagination in you? I don't care if I do hurt your feelings by saying so. I hope I hurt them. You have hurt mine worse than they have ever been hurt before, even by Mrs. Thomas's intoxicated husband, and I'll never forgive you for it. Never! Never! Oh my goodness, could you imagine? Stamp, stamp. Did anybody ever see such temper? Exclaimed the horrified Mrs. Rachel. Anne, go to your room and stay there until I come up, said Marilla, recovering her powers of speech with difficulty. Anne, bursting into tears, rushed to the hall door, slammed it until the tins on the porch wall outside rattled in sympathy, and fled through the hall and up the stairs like a whirlwind. A subdued slam above told that the door of the east gable had been shut with equal vehemence. Well, I don't envy you your job bringing that up, Marilla, said Mrs. Rachel with unspeakable solemnity. Marilla opened her eyes to say she knew not what of an apology or deprecation. What she did say was a surprise to herself, and then and ever after. You shouldn't have twitted her about her looks, Rachel. Marilla Cuthbert, you don't mean to say that you are upholding her in such a terrible display of temper as we've just seen? Demanded Mrs. Rachel indignantly. No, said Marilla slowly. I'm not trying to excuse her. She's been very naughty, and I'll have to give her a talking to about it. But we must make allowances for her. She's never been taught what is right. And you were too hard on her, Rachel. Marilla could not help. Interesting. My phone is ringing. Sorry, give me 1 second here. They'll have to leave a message. I'm so sorry, guys. That was unexpected. I don't exactly know where my phone is. Thus, I don't think I can exactly make sure that it's on mute. Curious. Oh, it's right in front of me. La la la. That's curious. I just got a phone call. I'm going to put Do Not Disturb on my phone, just for the remainder of the podcast. Let's do that. Does that sound like a plan? Do not disturb, please. Thank you. Sorry, guys. It wouldn't be a Juniper Grace podcast without something crazy happening. Right? Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so, dun dun dun. And you were too hard on her, Rachel. Marilla could not help tacking on that last sentence, although she was again surprised at herself for doing it. Mrs. Rachel got up with an air of offended dignity. Well, I see that I'll have to be very careful what I say after this, Marilla, since the fine feelings of orphans, brought from goodness knows where, have to be considered before anything else. Oh no, I'm not vexed. Don't worry yourself. I'm too sorry for you to leave any room for anger in my mind. You'll have your own troubles with that child, but if you'll take my advice, which I suppose you won't do, although I've brought up 10 children and buried 2, you'll do that talking to you mentioned with a fair-sized birch switch. I should think that would be the most effective language for that kind of a child. Her temper matches her hair, I guess. Well, good evening, Marilla. I hope you'll come down to see me often as usual, but you can't expect me to visit here again in a hurry. If I'm liable to be flown at and insulted in such a fashion, it's something new in my experience. So this is Anne confronting Rachel for being just a horrible woman. And look at Marilla in the back, going, oh my dear. So, whereat Mrs. Rachel swept out and away, if a fat woman, who always waddled, could be said to sweep away, and Marilla, with a very solemn face, betook herself to the east gable. On the way upstairs, she pondered uneasily as to what she ought to do. She felt no little dismay over the scene that had just been enacted. How unfortunate that Anne should have displayed such temper before Mrs. Rachel Lynde, of all people. Then Marilla suddenly became aware of an uncomfortable and rebuking consciousness that she felt more humiliation over this than sorrow over the discovery of such a serious defect in Anne's disposition. And how was she to punish her? The amiable suggestion of a birch switch, to the efficiency of which all of Mrs. Rachel's own children could have borne smarting testimony, did not appeal to Marilla. She did not believe she could whip a child. No, some other method of punishment must be found to bring Anne to a proper realization of the enormity of her offense. Marilla found Anne face downward on her bed, crying bitterly, quite oblivious of muddy boots on a clean counterpane. Anne, she said not urgently. No answer. Anne, with greater severity, get off that bed this minute and listen to what I have to say to you. Anne squirmed off the bed and sat rigidly on a chair beside it, her face swollen and tear-stained and her eyes fixed stubbornly on the floor. This is a nice way for you to behave, Anne. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? She hadn't any right to call me ugly and red-headed, retorted Anne, evasive and defiant. You hadn't any right to fly into such a fury and talk the way you did to her, Anne. I was ashamed of you, thoroughly ashamed of you. I wanted you to behave nicely to Mrs. Lynde, and instead of that, you have disgraced me. I'm sure I don't know why you should lose your temper. There we go, got the thump. Your temper like that just because Mrs. Lynde said you were red-haired and homely. You say it yourself often enough. Oh, but there's such a difference between saying a thing yourself and hearing other people say it, wailed Anne. You may know a thing is so, but you can't help hoping other people don't quite think it is. I suppose you think I have an awful temper, but I couldn't help it. When she said those things, something just rose right up in me and choked me. I had to fly out at her. Well, you made a fine exhibition of yourself, I must say. Mrs. Lynde will have a nice story to tell about you everywhere, and she'll tell it, too. It was a dreadful thing for you to lose your temper like that, Anne. Just imagine how you would feel if somebody told you to your face that you were skinny and ugly, pleaded Anne tearfully. An old remembrance suddenly rose up before Marilla. She had been a very small child when she had heard one aunt say of her to another, "What a pity, she is such a dark, homely little thing." Marilla was every day of 50 before the sting had gone out of that memory. I don't say that I think Mrs. Lynde was exactly right in saying what she did to you, Anne, she admitted in a softer tone. Rachel is too outspoken. But that is no excuse for such behavior on your part. She was a stranger and an elderly person and my visitor, all three very good reasons why you should have been respectful to her. You were rude and saucy, and Marilla had a saving inspiration of punishment. You must go to her and tell her you are very sorry for your bad temper and ask her to forgive you. I can never do that, said Anne determinedly and darkly. You can punish me in any way you like, Marilla. You can shut me up in a dark, damp dungeon inhabited by snakes and toads, and feed me only on bread and water, and I shall not complain. But I cannot ask Mrs. Lynde to forgive me. Well, we're not in the habit of shutting people up in dark, damp dungeons, said Marilla dryly, especially as they're rather scarce in Avonlea. But apologize to Mrs. Lynde you must and shall, and you'll stay here in your room until you can tell me you're willing to do it. I shall have to stay here forever then, said Anne mournfully, because I can't tell Mrs. Lynde I'm sorry. I said those things to her. How can I? I'm not sorry. I'm sorry I vexed you, but I'm glad I told her just what I did. It was a great satisfaction. I can't say I'm sorry when I'm not, can I? I can't even imagine I'm sorry. Perhaps your imagination will be in a better working order by the morning, said Marilla, rising to depart. You'll have the night to think over your conduct in and come to a better frame of mind. You said you would try to be a very good girl if we kept you at Green Gables, but I must say it hasn't seemed very much like it this evening. Leaving this Parthian shaft to rankle in Anne's stormy bosom, Marilla descended to the kitchen, grievously troubled in mind and vexed in soul. She was as angry with herself as with Anne, because whenever she recalled Mrs. Rachel's dumbfounded countenance, her lips twitched with amusement, and she felt a most reprehensible desire to laugh. I'm pretty sure that I would have trouble not laughing at that as well. I think that Marilla is more of a kindred spirit than we think sometimes. She is a sweet, sweet lady. All right, so I'm just adjusting my little scarfy scarf. This is actually, if you are wondering what I am wearing, this is the striped study shawl. I think that's like the third one that I've made. Yeah, and the blue one is the fourth one. I really love the striped study shawl. I believe it's by Vera Valimaki. And it's a really fun kind of asymmetrical shawl. It takes literally like 2 skeins of sock weight yarn. So roughly, 400 yards. Just, you can play with it and have fun. And yeah, I love this thing. I wear it all the time. It's really big and a wonderful knit. This one is actually knit out of the Lion brand Sock Ease yarn, which is kind of more of like a workhorse yarn. I got it at Michael's with a coupon, so it was kind of cheap. I just really loved the colors. The yellow was called Marshmallow, and I can't remember. I feel like the brown was called Root Beer or something like that. So I was kind of taken in by the color name choices. But I just figure if you get to actually name the colors of different yarn, why not just have like a ton of fun with it and be really creative and come up with really fun names, not just like color number 15 dash whatever, like the Regia or Regia yarn. Okay, well, let's move on to list making with Juniper Grace. As you can see behind me, I have those wonderful postcard wall thingies that I've been collecting, various postcards that the Junipers from around the world have been sending to me. Thank you so much. I absolutely love everything you send me. I love getting a new postcard in the mail. And if you would like to contribute to the Juniper postcard wall, feel free to send me a message on Ravelry asking me for my mailing address, and I will try to respond as quickly as I can, remembering that I am only human and I can't be perfect. I will respond. Actually, my new April goal is to attack my Ravelry inbox and deal with it every single day as something comes in. Deal with it right away. I've painted this beautiful thing that just says respond, and I'm gonna hang it up in my little crafty area just to remind myself, like, these are real people. It's not just on the internet. You can't just pretend like you don't have responsibilities. I'm just so bad at anything administrative, and I know that sounds so silly and ridiculous because an email doesn't seem like an administrative kind of thing, but just making myself sit down by a computer where I can properly, craft a response and respond to people. Sometimes, I don't know, or I check it on my phone and then I'm like, oh, well, I'm out and about. I'll have to respond later. And then it's like out of sight, out of mind. I completely forget to respond. So I apologize for being human. Anyways, so special thanks to 5 postcards from Sharon, or as Mary likes to go, Seashore Sharon. Seashore Sharon. She is a postcard amazing fanatic. She sends me the coolest postcards in the mail. And I mean, I send her postcards too. I love it. It's so much fun. Look at that. Keep calm and drink coffee. These are the kind of postcards you could frame and put in like a cute little frame and hang up in, keep calm and read books. I could frame that and hang it next to my bookcase. Well, I have 2 bookcases. Well, like 3 I have a lot of bookcases. Anyways. Oh! No way! Okay, speak of the devil, I'm not even kidding. Seashore Sharon, she just posted on Instagram a picture, and she says, April is National Letter Writers Month, and she goes, look what just arrived in my mailbox, and wouldn't you know it, it's probably one of the postcards that I've recently sent her. So let me pull up that picture. I want to show you guys. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So April, National Letter Writers Month. Okay, inspiration. Ding! We need to do a letter swap. We should do like a little, like a drive to, I have an idea. Okay, you know how I'm part of the Letter Writers Alliance? I talked all about it in earlier episodes. Anyways, let's have a little drive or like a little mail thing. I'll start a thread. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited I can't even get the words out. I'll start a thread, and we shall, in the Ravelry group, we shall make it like the Letter Writers Month thread, and let's have a little drive to join the Letter Writers Alliance. It's like $5 to get a little like lifetime membership, and then you have a database of like all these pen pals and really fun things. Let's do that, and let's send some letters out, because it's Letter Writers Month. This is amazing. This is great. I don't know if I'll make it a swap or anything. Let's just make it like, let's make it a thread where it's like, I'm interested in swapping letters, and I'm a member, and this is my membership number, and if you want to swap letters with me or send me a letter, private message me, and let's send some letters. And then we can even make a hashtag so we can share about it. Hashtag Juniper Letters? I don't know, something like that. Anyways, okay. April is National Letter Writing Month. Look what just arrived in my mailbox. We have it's the Round Robin group. A lovely Round Robin group including Julie, me, and Michelle Owls, myself, and 2 others. So much fun and friendship. Oh, so she just got... Okay, so we've been doing a letter round robin, and so that's the contents of some of the round robin. Isn't that really cool? Oh, that's so great. That makes me really happy. That is so much fun. Okay, well, anyways, so we should do that. Let's do it. Let's write some letters. I did not anticipate talking about that, so I'll have to make a note for myself, but I don't have a pen anywhere. So anyways, I'm so excited about that. So lots and lots of postcards. Thank you, Sharon. You are the best. It's so much fun. What I've taken to doing is whenever I go places, I keep a package of stamps to the US, stamps to international, and stamps for Canada. So like 3 different kinds of stamps. I keep them in my wallet, and then if I'm out and about and I find a really fun postcard, like if I go on a day trip to Vancouver on the ferry, I find some postcards and I've got stamps right there. I keep all of my important mailing addresses for like my pen pals and such. I keep them all in one of my little tiny notebooks. I always have like a little notebook on the go for notes and things. I keep the addresses that I need at the back of the book, and that way I can always just write a little postcard, pop it in the mail, and Sharon seems to get a lot of them because I always find postcards that I want to send to her. But she's also a prolific postcard sender. All right, so that is 1. Number 2 on the list is the hashtag J1KAL, so the first annual Juniper Knit Along, has been going on and going fairly strong. We've had a fair bit of activity in the chat thread. There's the fridge again, sorry guys. In the chat thread, and I've been seeing pictures of really cool things, and if for those of you that don't know about the first annual Juniper Grace Knit Along, there is, it's going from February 14th to April 14th. I might just say 15th, 14th, 15th. And the idea is that you knit anything that is on my queue. So if you go to Ravelry and you click on my profile and then you click on queue, it should show you what I have in my queue. And I think I have something like 36 things. I picked all range of like tiny projects to bigger projects. I even have sweaters in there. And I just want to encourage you guys to knit along with me, and also encourage myself, very selfishly, to knit those things that I've been wanting to knit for a while, and I have yarn for, and oh my gosh. So, I have succeeded officially in one item from the queue. These are the, oh, I have to hold them back. These are the mystery socks from Lena, also known as Frugenbadagak. I can't say it. I can never say it. I'm not Norwegian. Well, I'm kind of Norwegian, but not really. So these are really beautiful textured socks that are basically designed, the texture is like representative or inspired by classic Norwegian colorwork patterns. So you can see kind of like the, actually it's reading really well on screen. My favorite are the stars on the foot. So I basically did everything the exact same what she calls for, using 2.5mm needles. I cannot remember off the top of my head what kind of yarn it is. It's purple. It was at my local yarn shop in the sock yarn section. I will try to update my project page. Okay, so, sorry. I was in the middle of talking about socks. My computer keeps fighting with me to record these silly podcasts, and that's part of why one has not reached you sooner, because I was trying to record one and I was just fighting with it earlier this week. But anyways, okay, so I was saying, I will update my project page and let you know what kind of yarn it is, but I use 2.5mm needles. I use the just good old, plain old sock yarn. I followed everything right to the T, 64, I think it was 64 stitches. I used her classic heel and her toe, and I loved everything about it. And actually, this is the first time I ever knit two socks at the same time. I like to knit my socks on one circular needle with a really long cable, so I go like 41 inches cable, and magic loop method, and I did two socks at the same time. And I know some people, when they do two socks at the same time, they'll use two circular needles. I just prefer one, and my thoughts are, like, I did cuff down, circular two at a time. I actually had to get out a book from the library to teach me how to start two at a time socks. I thought I would be able to figure it out. Apparently it's not as common sense as it might seem. So I used a book. The book was great. I think it was literally called Socks Two at a Time from my local library. And yeah, I liked it. I found it, the only thing that I don't like, okay, so let's do pros and cons. Pros of two at a time socks. When you are finished knitting, you are done both socks. Awesome. Other pros, you feel a bit like a rock star, because people are like, what are you knitting? And it's not just like one sock, it's like, I'm knitting two at the same time. That was cool. Those are the two big pros in my mind. The cons are a little bit more. I think, number one, it reduces having just like the little tiny, easy to carry one sock. You know, it takes more space because you've got both socks. And I had two different balls of yarn because the sock yarn I bought came in smaller balls. So it wasn't like one big ball. I had one for each sock. Because, yeah, so that was just, it was a lot more to carry, and it removed the fun of and portability of having a sock in your bag for work, yeah. And it just took me a while to figure out, like, the rhythm and get comfortable with the way that everything was sitting on the needles and how I'd work across, and I found myself, like, because you're knitting both at the same time, progress goes a lot slower although arguably not, because you're getting both socks done. It just takes longer to get different things done. Plus, I guess I picked textured socks, which added to that. I don't know. So, I don't know. Personally, I think I'm going to stick with the one sock at a time. I'm going to always, and I have done double pointed needles for socks, but I really, really prefer the magic loop method with just my one circular needle. Yeah. But it was cool, and they're done, and they're beautiful, and I plan to wear them to Brownie Camp coming up in a month. We're going to do Brownie Camp, and it's Brownie Boot Camp, where we take them out and get them in tents for the first time to get them ready for Girl Guides, because Girl Guide camping is more intense, than Brownie camping, because we princess camp at Brownies. So we sleep in bunk beds, and it's a bit of a shock when they get to Girl Guides, so we want to kind of help the shock a little bit. Yeah, so I'm going to wear these and all my other hand-knit socks. Oh my gosh, list making is taking forever. Okay. And, oh yeah, so with the hashtag J1KAL, I went through, just before recording this, well, earlier this week, a day ago, before I tried to record the first time and it didn't work, I went through and I wrote down a list of all the people that had posted pictures of what projects they're working on. And I had mentioned earlier that I wanted to give kind of an impromptu prize. So I actually have... figure out where I put it. It might be. Where are you? My pride. Oh no. Pardon me while I professionally, what is it, like hashtag so profesh. While I look for, aha, there it is. Okay, excellent. Alright, so I went to Vancouver and I found this amazing dollar store with everything from Japan in it. And it was $2 store. And this is the cutest little drawstring bag, and it's the cutest little project bag. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can give away one of these as a prize for the knit along. So I'm going to give this away right now, as well as one other thing, but the other thing is just a surprise. You don't get to know what it is until it arrives at your doorstep. And so we picked two winners, and by we, I mean I literally texted my husband and I said, hey husband, I have to read this to you. So I said, hey husband, can you pick a number two numbers between 3 and, no wait, not 3 and 9, between 1 and 9. Classic, right? He is my random number generator. So his response was, Beexa and Cassian, 3 and 9, winky face. And I was like, oh, wow. And he goes, what, are you surprised? So Beexa and Cassian, for a lot of people that don't follow hockey, because not everybody does, they are two players from the Canucks, the Vancouver Canucks, which is Joel's team forever. So you can just see right there. Beexa and Cassian, 3 and 9. So now let me tell you who the winners are. So number 3, so you get your first pick of either the project bag, the one that you know, or the surprise mystery prize from me, which, I mean, obviously it will be pretty awesome because, hello, I'm awesome at mail. Anyways, is Freckled Crafts. Freckled Crafts, yay! You are knitting the rye socks, and I assume you're probably done by now. Your picture that you posted was of one finished and the other on its way. So, beautiful, really awesome. That's so great, and you're knitting from a local knitwear designer that I love, Tin Can Knits, the rye socks. So you can choose, you get first choice, send me a message on Ravelry, do you want the project bag, or do you want the mystery surprise? And then number 9 was Rose Hip Chick, and she knit the mystery socks just like I knit, in beautiful, beautiful green, like green is the color right now. So you get second choice, so whatever Freckled Crafts doesn't choose, you get the other one, and I promise they're both awesome. So, yay! Thanks for being a part of the knit along. And it is not too late, because obviously there will be a massive prize giveaway near the end. I'm still gathering all the prizes. If you would like to contribute to the prizes, let me know. So far right now I've got this beautiful skein of yarn from Daybreak Dye Works. Oh, so beautiful. Kindred Spirits colorway. It is 100% superwash merino worsted, 220 yards. And it's so pretty. Ava, don't scratch the stool. Thank you. No. Hey, no scratch. Oh, don't bite at me. Such a cat. Oh, I see. I see. So anyways, this is one of the prizes. We also have some patterns that a few different designers are willing to offer. And my friend Julie from Mooncusser Bags. Thank you, Fridge. From Mooncusser Bags. This is my bag, but she has generously offered, I think, one, possibly two of her very own amazing handmade project bags. Miss Ava. So yeah, you want to get involved in that. And if you are already knitting something, just show me a picture of it. Put it in the chat thread and post about it. Let's talk. Let's encourage each other in what we're doing. And I need some help because I still have a lot. Like I have a ton of projects I've started that are on the queue and that I would love to finish. I just need some encouragement because, well, I don't know. I just do. So yeah, get involved in that. And when you post about it on Instagram, use the hashtag J1KAL, so first annual Juniper Knit Along, and also tag me. So go at JuniperGrace. Look at my hashtag J1Cal item. Yeah, so yay, so much fun. And then the other thing that I wanted to share is this beautiful bag you've probably been eyeing in the background. This is a sweater bag made by the amazing Rista1313, aka Susan, from, I don't remember exactly where she's from. She's from America, United States of America, and her company is called Girl Cave Bags, and she puts these adorable little buttons that say Girl Cave Bags. I am a Girl Cave, that's me, Grace Cave. So I had every intention of buying the bag that had bears on the front and then honeybees on the inside, but I saw this and I was like, oh my gosh, I love it! It's little kids collecting fireflies. I've never actually seen a real life firefly because I'm from Canada and they don't have them where I live. But look inside, there's more fireflies and jars, and yeah, I never had a proper actual sweater project bag. I've been holding out to find the right one, and hello. So you can find her on girlcavebags.etsy.com, I believe. And you will not be disappointed. I love everything about those bags. I love all the details of finishing. I like how kind of right below the edge of the zipper, there's like that little pinked edge, like she's pinked everything. And then between the two layers of fabric, I think it's like interfacing. Whatever she's put in there, it kind of makes it stiffer and sturdy so it stands up nicely. Love it. Okay, all right. So we've done list making, we've done story time with Juniper Grace. Now it's on to adventures in Juniper Graceland. Kind of like Graceland, but Juniper style. Sip of my coffee. Maybe another sip of my coffee. Ava Kitty, you are just... See this thing? See this cat here? What are you planning on doing? Where are you going to go? Ava. Ava. What are you doing? She's perched, looking like she's going to try to jump down. But I don't think she knows exactly where to go because there's not really a good place for her to jump down. Do you want me to move some stuff so you can jump down? Little munchkin. Anyways, wow, Captain Distracto. So, adventures. I've had a lot of adventures recently, I must admit. And they've been really good, and that's part of what's been taking me away from Juniper Grace. But it's also been igniting, which is my word, ignite for the year is my word, ignite. It's been igniting this kind of inspiration in me that I've just been needing. I've been craving. I've been missing just inspiration. And so it's hard to podcast and talk about what you're excited about when you're kind of like at a point where you need to get excited about stuff again. Does that make sense? So I've been doing that, a little bit of soul searching, a little bit of discovering, like, what do I want to do with my life, and what do I like? And one of the biggest pieces of inspiration, oh my goodness, I keep hiccuping little hiccups. One of the biggest inspirations that I have found recently is art, just paintings, beautiful, amazing art. And it kind of started, I guess, when I went to Vancouver for the day with my best friend. And we went to the Vancouver Art Gallery. And there was an exhibit by Cézanne. He was the main exhibit, but then they also had kind of like not only Cézanne, but his contributing, like, people that were his contemporaries, people that he painted with, people that inspired him, and it was fantastic. I went around and I was just so inspired, and you're not allowed to take pictures, so I was like doodling little sketches of the different paintings that caught my eye. And then afterwards, I bought a little book of postcards, and I don't think I told you guys about this because it was, maybe I did. No, I didn't. I think I wanted to tell you guys about this. But anyways, I actually saw my very first Van Gogh painting, which was incredible. It was so cool. It was not exactly like one of the well-known Van Goghs, but it was so cool. And it just made me so inspired. I just was like, yes, art. So great. And then Creative Bug, I don't know if you know the website creativebug.com. They have this kind of like you subscribe. It's like $5 a month, and and they have all of these amazing artists that come along, and I'm gonna load it up on my phone. Yeah, so they have all these amazing artists that come along, and they do different different lessons on things. And one of my favorite things was Lisa Congdon, who's one of my most favorite artists, did a series on line drawings, and she's since done another series. But right now there's also a class all about watercolor painting, which I have always found interested in, but I always thought, oh, it's such an unforgiving art. I'm not that interested. Mom is a watercolorer. She watercolors like you would not believe. That is her definitely one of her giftings. But they have an intro to watercolor, and I thought, well, maybe I'll give it another chance because Mom loves it so much. And yeah, so I joined up with that. I went and got some paint. So it's by Yao Cheng, watercolor basics, basically. And so you can see, it's kind of, isn't that beautiful? And I thought, I could do that. I could totally do that. And oh my gosh, I'm totally obsessed. I went to Mom's house, and I pulled out all my watercolors, and you get to start kind of painting just to see palettes and how the color explorations, like how you can get different tones by different levels of water. And then you get to do a fun little experiment with like circles and colors bleeding into each other, and triangles and colors bleeding into each other, and it was just so much fun. But then I found the part that I liked the absolute most was leaves. You get to make leaves and plants, and I am kind of obsessed with it. It's so much fun. And things that I've discovered already. I wanted to go kind of the affordable route, so I just bought a palette of watercolor paints that has like all the colors. That is not as nice as using paint from the tubes. Pigment from the tubes. The pigment is just so much nicer. So this is some green. I went and bought a tube of green paint. So because it's so expensive, I've decided I'm just gonna kind of slowly, I decided maybe even just one a week, like buy one color a week. And then I think I might put some of my watercolor stuff up in the Etsy shop. I'm going to bring back the Etsy shop. I was just trying to figure out what to put in it. But look, wouldn't those be beautiful bookmarks or like little pieces of art to hang on your wall? Yeah. I was thinking I was going to do some Anne of Green Gables quotes with some beautiful watercolor around them. So yeah, and then I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? For Easter, actually, Mom, you should be listening to this. For Easter, wouldn't it be cool, like, to get, you know how you get those little baskets with the grass and stuff in them, but instead of chocolate Easter eggs, because I don't really need chocolate Easter eggs, and I don't need them, have little tubes of watercolor paint in the basket. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, so I'm kind of obsessed with watercolor paint. I'm just obsessed with painting, and that ties into the other adventure. So my mom invited me to come to the art gallery in Victoria to her annual her monthly meeting of the associates of the art gallery of Greater Victoria. My mom is a member of the associates, basically like the volunteer committee. They do a lot of fundraising for the gallery. They host different events. It's really cool, just to be behind the scenes and be involved in the life of the art gallery. So she invited me to come because there was someone giving a talk about Emily Carr, and I'm totally in love with Emily Carr. And she was a painter that was born and raised in Victoria, and she's very well known for her beautiful trees, paintings of trees, and also Native American totem poles. And she was very close to the Group of Seven, which was like an all-male group of painters that were kind of out east, not out west. But she became really good friends with Lauren Harris, who is a part of the group of 7. And anyways, she wrote books, and I just love her. I feel like we're kindred spirits. And so I went to hear this talk, and then lo and behold, my mom decided, I'm going to sign you up for the associates of the gallery. And I was like, really? Okay. And I'm talking like I am easily the youngest member, like probably the only one around my age out of the whole group. And I was kind of like, what am I getting myself into? I don't know how much time. I mean, I'm already a brownie leader. I'm a wife. I've got, lots of things to do. But turns out that it is pretty much the coolest thing ever. I have a little name badge that I get to wear. Tonight, I'm going to a volunteer appreciation party where we get to go down into the vaults of the art gallery and see, like, the pieces that haven't been on display. We've also been, I don't have the book with me. We've been reading some really interesting books. There's a book club as being part of the associates. One of the books that we are reading is called What Are You Looking At? And it's a brief history of modern art, which is so cool. So cool. So yeah, I'm super jazzed about that. And I realized that, you know what, if people my age don't get involved, like if we don't step up and start getting involved in different things that we care about, like for example me, the art gallery, if I don't start pitching in and joining in, then it might not be around because no one's there to take care of it when the older generations can't do it anymore. So yeah, that's also why I'm a brownie leader, because I think it's a really important thing to be part of. It made such difference in my life, so I just want to carry that on, right? Carry it forward. So that is such a cool thing. The other really cool thing that happened is Marlise, also known as, I think, Sultan Mud. I can't say her name, but anyways, I love you, Marlise. She is from Austria. She is a friend that I met out here when she was out here for school with her husband. And then they went back to Austria. And we, in the time that she was actually here, she's a friend of a friend, is how I met her. The time she was actually here, we didn't even know about each other and knitting until she was gone. And she's like, oh, there's a podcast. And she started watching the podcast. And from time to time, she sends me amazing things in the mail, like yarn. For example, like Harry Potter yarn. Anyways, so she came to visit, and I got almost a whole day with her, not quite, but I got to take her to my favorite yarn shop and favorite coffee shop. And then, of course, Marlise came bearing gifts. And so, it's sparkly and beautiful and yellow and German. I can't pronounce it. But isn't this pretty? She brought me some really beautiful yarn. She also brought me, there's more. Let me dig it out. Hiding in another basket. Here's the book. Okay, this is the What Are You Looking At book. It is so good. It is so interesting. Let's see. The surprising, shocking, and sometimes strange story of 150 years of modern art. It's a cool book. I highly recommend it. So she also brought me this from Loop London. Look at that red. Isn't that just gorgeous? I don't know what to make out of that, but that's just beautiful. And then, this is probably my favorite surprise. So she pronounces it Regia. So I always call it Regia, but I think it's Regia. And then look, this isn't even available in North America right now. It's Art and Carlos. It's their color, one of their colorways. It's this colorway. Isn't that so cool? It's beautiful. Oh my gosh, I was just blown away. She also brought me coffee from Austria, which I'm so excited to drink. Yeah, totally spoiled. Absolutely love it. Actually, so you guys have been, a few of you have asked, they're like, oh, Grace, like we've been sending you, okay, get it to stand up now. They're like, you guys are like, we've been sending you little bits of yarn for your hexie puffs. Where are your hexie puffs? You need to start making them. And I was like, I agree. I do need to start making those hexie puffs. So right around St. Patrick's Day, I decided to start hexapuffing because I just wanted to have a little project on the go that was really easy and very portable. And I remember, if you remember, those tiny little opals. Those little opal balls that Marlise sent me from her yarn shop. I cracked one open and I knit a hexie puff. Isn't that adorable? And I put a little bit of lavender in it, and then just a little bit of wool to fill it. Just a little. I don't like it too puffy, so it's lightly puffy. And I think I'm making them a little bit, I can't remember, yeah, smaller than the needle size that's recommended, just because I kind of like them a little bit smaller. I like the stitch definition. So here's some purple that Lena had sent me from Norway. And they smell amazing. And then on St. Patrick's Day, I haven't quite finished this one yet, but I did a little green one out of more of the green yarn that Lena sent to me. This is for the Beekeeper's Quilt by Tiny Owl Knits, and I love it. Oh my gosh, you guys have been so generous with your little bits and bobs of yarn, and if you want to send me some, if you are watching this and you go, oh, I have a little bit of leftovers that Grace could use for her sock blanket, don't feel bad to just send me a message, and I would graciously appreciate anything you had to offer. Basically, the story goes that for a while, I mean, I haven't really been knitting socks for very long, and beyond that, I'm kind of very intense about my yarn. Like, if I buy some nice fingering weight yarn, I will use every last little bit of it, so I didn't have anything left over. And so now I do. I'm starting to have leftovers from socks and stuff, but anyways, if you want to send me some, I would not say no. Yeah, so that was so cool to see Marliese, and she's so sweet, and it was great. We only got one day, but it was really fun. And hi, she's now in South Africa, going on an adventure with her dad, which is so cool. The other thing that we did that I've done recently, I mean, I've been kind of going around to different places. I went to Salt Spring Island with my best friend, and it's like all about sparkle yarn right now. Have you guys noticed? So I got Ancient Art Fiber yarn. It made me think of Seashore Sharon. She sells seashells is the colorway, and it's sparkly. I'm gonna make fingerless mittens. Actually, I think I know what pattern I was gonna do. It's the alright, work with me, computer. I will pull that up, and then you guys can see. They're just this pattern that I've kind of had in my favorites for a little while. It's called Muck Cuffs by Jana Huck. Here. So it's those fingerless mittens. I just really like them. They're just like a simple cuff, but they're fairly textured. Like, they've got kind of a cool, it's almost like a panel of seed stitch, sort of, or I'm not exactly sure what kind of stitch it is, actually, come to think of it, down the center. But isn't that just beautiful? So I'm going to knit that matching set for me and my best friend out of this yarn. She helped me pick it out. And I went to see Pat at Elderberry Yarns, which I absolutely love. Every time I have to go visit her. I got that, and I also got another skein of yarn, but I don't have it with me. I got something green because it was St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, and Salt Spring Island was amazing. It was just beautiful to go and be outside for a little bit, and I love that island. It is so nice. It's where all the hippies and the fairies live. Okay, so yeah, those are all my adventures that are like the big adventures, the notable adventures. Let's move on to knit all the things. Okay, so like I said, we have been working on the the annual Juniper knit along, right? J1KAL. This is where I show you some of the things I still have in progress and I have not gotten very far on. So this is going to be my canopy. It's the pattern by Melody, Beijing Mandarins. Anyway, she is so beautiful. She has her own blog. She's based in Latvia, and I love everything she does. Absolutely everything. So the shell calls for sport weight yarn, but I couldn't. I went to a yarn shop that I wanted to go look at, and they just didn't have anything that called to me in sport weight. So I think I ended up getting kind of a light worsted. It's Cascade yarn. Oh no, is it Cascade yarns? Hold on. Anyways, I ended up, and they didn't have enough in just one color. So I'm gonna do gray with like a darker gray band on the bottom. Those are my little hand wound skeins, my little balls that I wind by hand. So it is not Cascade, it's Classic Elite Yarns. So Crestone. 100% naturally undyed wool. And it is 50 grams and approximately 100 yards per ball. So I got enough to make the shawl. I just need to keep going. The pattern is lovely. It's wonderfully written, very simple to follow, chart and written instructions depending on how you feel whenever you pick it up. I've been sailing through it and then I just got distracted, so I have to get back to it. I've also been working on the, just pulled out the thing. Anyways, I'm working on the Sandhills lace shawl by Hey Lady Hey. And this was a pattern that was gifted to me for my birthday because she's so sweet and generous. And I'm knitting it in Elspeth Lavold Silky Wool. Oh, that was the back side. This is the front side. Okay. So you can see kind of the cascading ripples of the lace work right now. And this is also another 2-color shawl, but this one was actually written to be 2 colors, and I believe I'm going to be putting a dark gray band on the bottom, and you can see it's the Elspeth Lavold Silky Wool. I love that yarn so much. I've used so much of it. This was actually a gift, one of the first Christmas gifts of yarn that my husband ever gave me when we were just dating. And he gave me one skein, and I just was trying to find the perfect thing to make with it. But bam! Found it! This is the perfect thing. So, isn't that going to look lovely? I'll finish it, and it'll be like a perfect springtime shawl because it's light and kind of airy enough. And then I think my this one is going to be a perfect for like the evening in spring / evenings in summer because it's a little heavier, but I think it'll be beautiful. So many things on the go, so many things to knit, always all the knitting. So those are 2 that are on my queue and will totally count towards the knit along for the J1KAL. I'm also working on, I showed you my Hexie Puffs, and I wanted to show you my March socks that are almost done. So I posted an Instagram picture. I posted an Instagram picture of some beautiful yarn by Rain City Knits, and they are a Vancouver-based yarn company. They have a different logo now, but this is their original logo. Rain City Knits. This I bought at this summer at, what's it called? Fibrations Festival in Victoria, and it's graffiti colorway, I think is the name of it. And look, okay, so we have one sock. Ta-da! Isn't that adorable? Like, the coolest sock ever. Actually, I should put it on a sock blocker, and then you could get a better idea. So, I'm just doing the classic pattern that I always do, 2.5 millimeter needles, long circular, working in the round, magic loop method. Oops, put it on backwards. And I'm using Susan B. Anderson's How I Make My Socks recipe. I believe the entire sock I do 68 stitches. For a while I was casting on 72 at the top for my curvy lady legs, but I've lost a little bit of weight, which is nice. And on top of that, I realized that it stretches a lot and then it kind of stays too stretched when it's 72 stitches. So I'm down to 68 for the whole sock. I do cuff down because that's just how I learned and that's what I like. And then it's a pretty basic heel flap and then a Kitchener at the toe. And I love it. Aren't those great? So I am currently turning the heel of the second sock, and I've got to crank away so I can have these done and then jump into April socks. And I don't know. I think my April socks will be attempting to tackle one of the sock patterns on my list because I have a lot of socks on the list and I keep doing just different socks. Like I just keep going back to my classic favorite sock pattern. So I need to branch out and try something new. Right, Grace? Try something new. Okay. But isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that just look great? Love it. So neon-y and really fun. Like, these will be great at brownie camp. I think they'll be a hit. That's where I wear my socks the most time, FYI. Yeah, and then, and then the other, so I have a couple that I'm hoping to tackle. Let me show you some pictures of those. So one of the other items on my queue that I've been really wanting to knit is the London Fog hat by Bristol Ivy. I just love it, and I need a good toque for spring, so I'm going to work on that, hopefully. I also wanted to tackle Shoe Candy by Leah Oakley, which is just an adorable textured sock pattern that she also lovingly gifted to me. One thing that I really like is there's an option to do kind of a textured cuff, like with just like a lacy cuff to the top, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna try it, and I think I'm not entirely sure which yarn I'll use, so I have to figure that out. Figure it out. I've got lots of yarn. And then let me just show off. Okay, so I was talking about the canopy shawl. That's the canopy shawl by Mandarins. Isn't she just lovely? Melody is so lovely. And I'll give you a highlight of the Sandhills lace shawl. Okay, her name is Melissa Stajda. I don't know how to say her last name. I just go, hey, lady, hey. She's really cute, and she has a great Instagram feed. Okay, so then my husband, he went away for a week and a half up on the mainland for a job, for work. And while he was there, he was staying at this bed and breakfast that happened, it was like a hostel or a bed and breakfast that happened to be behind a yarn store, which is so cool. So I was like, can you bring me back some yarn because you love me? And so I picked a couple projects that I was interested in doing, and then I just sent him the 2 projects with, like, you know, the Ravelry page, so that he could pick me yarn that I could use right away, basically. And he came home with Sweet Georgia yarn. Look at that! Isn't that gorgeous? It is the orchid colorway, which I think is so cool. It's super wash worsted. And it's kind of reading a little bit more red on the camera right now. Really what it is it's a beautiful kind of vibrant fuchsia pink. That's really what it looks like. It's not really red. You can kind of, let's see if I hold it back, like over here. Yeah, you can see it's more pinky. This looks red. This is pinky. This is more true to the color. Anyways, so I cast it on immediately because I was so excited when he brought it home. I was like, what? Like a perfect choice. I decided that I wanted to make the Camilla shawl by Carrie Bostic Hoagie. Anyways, isn't that just lovely? It's not on my queue. I shouldn't be working on it because I should be working on something from my queue, but I couldn't help myself, so I just cast on, and look at those beautiful ripples. And this is a really unique shawl in that you cast on basically the length of the bottom of the shawl and work your way up rather than working from the top like a triangular shawl top and then building out. So I had to cast on all of the stitches for the shawl right away, and then I'm just working my way up, which I've not done before. So I'm kind of excited. I hope it all works out. I think there's a bit of comfort working from the top down because you know that if you get to the end of what they call for and it's not as big as you want it to be, you could always keep going. I can't do that with this, but I have a feeling it will not disappoint. So that kind of cool. And it's, yeah, Sweet Georgia. Also another local yarn artist from Vancouver. And I love Sweet Georgia. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. And I'm also really jazzed that my husband picked something just so spot on. Really, really cool. Okay, so moving on. So I've decided, well, actually, a while ago, I asked people if they had any questions for me because I wanted to do a questions podcast episode. But I decided that I might just turn it into a segment called Question Corner with Juniper Grace and tack it on kind of at the end. So I'm going to tackle a couple of the questions that people left for me because I just think it's really cool, and I feel like it's been a while since I asked you guys for questions. There's a chat thread open, and if you want to add questions that you'd like to ask me, go ahead, go and add them there, and then I will try to address them in a future question corner. But here we go. So, in my question thread, the first person that asked me a question was Jordan Dane 9698. So she has a cute little podcast herself. She's adorable. And her question was, she says, I had a friend who lived in Canada before her mom and her sister moved to Texas. Her whole family could speak fluent French, and I know French is one of the main languages in Canada, which is true. Can you speak French? That is, no. Actually, yes, just a little bit. Just, my favorite phrase is je ne comprends pas, which means I don't understand. Mostly because you have to take it in school in Canada. Basically, it's just part of. Wow, it's really dark here. Let's see if I can get it to lighten up. Lighten up, camera, lighten up. No? Okay. So you have to take it in school. I had to take it in school. I took it all the way up till I believe grade 8, and my my French teacher in grade 8 took pity on me and gave me my exams orally rather than written because I could understand it when I hear it and I could speak an answer, but I was absolutely horrible at writing it down. It just confused me. It's just a little bit backwards from English, and it's difficult. I just found it really, really difficult to master. I would like to pick it up again. My mom's actually talking about us. My stepdad really wants to learn French, and so he wants to take a class, and I thought, well, that'd be cool. We could do that. And so we're thinking about going back and trying to take it. But I know very little. I used to say, like, je suis le pamplemousse. I am the grapefruit. Just really silly things. I'm not very good. I took Japanese and I found that was easier. Weirdly enough. Okay, so then also, Rista1313, so the lovely maker of this beautiful bag. Look at the sun. See, I've got a window right here, and there's like a ton of sun here, and no sun here. It lightened up. I don't know. I'm not a master at these kind of things, so I apologize. Accept my apology for the weird lighting. Now I have the glow of the... There's the other side. Okay, so Rista1313, she says, what do you spend your days doing when you're not knitting or reading? Usually I try to talk about that in my adventures with Juniper Grace, in Juniper Graceland. Now it really comes down to I do brownies. I love to go for walks. I really love to go for walks. I have an annual pass to Butchart Gardens, so I've been going for walks in the garden. I'm hoping to go back to school, so that will hopefully take up some time, which hopefully won't take me away from podcasting. I don't think it will. I think if you love something, it's hard to stop doing it. So, what else do? I drink a lot of coffee, make coffee. I like to bake sometimes. And now I'm trying to do art. So I've been painting and going to art galleries to get inspiration. I like to wander around downtown Victoria because it's beautiful. So those are the things that I do. And then like knitting and reading is a lot of my favorite pastimes. So that is a lot of what I do. Knit and read and drink coffee. Okay, so Marrow Shop, the lovely Meredith from New Brunswick, says, you have some pretty stellar knit socks. How do you wear them out and about, and how do you say out and about? So I say out and about. I do not say oot and about like a lot of Canadians. Because I'm not from the East Coast, I'm from the West. Maybe if I get, like, when I get a little upset or, like, on a rant, sometimes I have a few, like, East Coast inflections or just very, very Canadian-y. But not really. So I just say out and about. Out and about. Out and about. I don't know. They kind of joke that East Coast Canadians say oot and about. I don't really say that. But it's funny. Okay, how do I wear my socks? I like to wear them camping. Or when I'm outside. Normally, I don't like anything on my feet. Normally, I'm the kid that when I lived in Alberta, which is like actually gets winter and snow, I still wore flip-flops till I like absolutely couldn't take it anymore. My toes would like turn red. I would still wear flip-flops, especially on campus, because, you know, running quickly between dorm room to like the building where the classes were, I'd wear flip-flops. So normally I don't really like socks. That's why I was like, I don't want to knit socks because what am I going to do? I'm not going to wear them and it'll be a waste of all this time. Turns out, hand knit socks are the most perfect thing on Vancouver Island because it's damp, cold, and so when I'm out camping with the brownies or I'm out sitting around the campfire or just go out for like a walk in the rain, the wool socks are perfect. So I love to wear them in my Blundstone boots. I love to wear them even in my rubber boots. I like to wear them with my moccasins. I sometimes wear them with flip-flops, which is weird, I know. But I just love to wear that, and they're just perfect for kind of cooler days. Typically in the summer, they get tucked away and left, like I give them a good wash, and then they sit in the drawer over summertime unless I go camping. And if I go camping, I wear them at night. because my husband and I don't share sleeping bags. We don't do the zip two together. When we go camping, we just sleep close together, but we each have our own sleeping bag. So I like to have my little woolly socks because my feet get cold. Okay, I think I have a few more minutes for a couple more. I was gonna answer Michelle Owls. She asks, "What music are you listening to right now?" All the music. What is your favorite dish to make at home? What is your favorite sweet? How long have you been a brownie leader? And what made you decide to become one? Which I think is super awesome. And what is your favorite show right now? So there's a ton of questions right there. So my favorite music that I'm listening to right now. I like to listen to all kinds of music constantly. I flip between everything. Currently, I find Hosier really interesting. I'm not sure if I agree with him theologically, but I do really love the sound of his music. From Eden is one song that I kind of can't get out of my head quite often. He's from Ireland. He's the son of a blues musician, so you can definitely hear that when he's playing. All-time favorite, I will always listen to Ingrid Michaelson. I love her. I've also been listening to Elle King has this really great song called X's and O's, and it's like, my X's and O's, they haunt me. It's really awesome. She has a really wicked, she's just like a killer lead girl. She's got cool vocals. And Dear Rouge, another song that I'm really digging right now is Best Look Lately. Best Look Lately. So rewind that and listen to it again if you want to know some awesome music to listen to. Oh, and Andy Schaaf. Always Andy Schaaf. What is your favorite dish to make at home? I used to always like to make stir fry. Lately, I have really enjoyed making soup. I made borscht. And it was delicious. It took a really long time. It was a lot of work, but it was completely worth it, and I loved it. What is your favorite sweet? I have a massive sweet tooth. I totally do, I must admit. And I love candy. I really love candy. My favorite pretty much will always be Skittles for sure. That is like my diehard favorite candy. Pardon me. But lately, I've been really liking Sour Patch Kids. And normally, I absolutely hate any sour candy. So when I first started wanting sour candies, I was like, am I pregnant? I'm not. I promise I will tell you so you can knit me all the adorable baby things when I do decide to have kids with my hubby. But yeah, I seriously was like, what's wrong with me? Why do I like my best friend was mad at me. She's like, no way! When we lived together, I wasn't allowed to have any sour candy because I couldn't share with you because you didn't like sour candies. So what is going on with you? And I was like, I don't know. My taste buds have changed, I guess. I like pickles now. I never used to like pickles. And I really like Sour Patch Kids. All I want is Sour Patch Kid candy. I'm crazy. Must be crazy. I love I'm just like, Sour Patch Kids! It's like I'm a kid again. Okay, so how long have you been a brownie leader, and what made you decide to become one? I have been a brownie leader for, I think, 5 years now? 4 or 5? Probably 5, I think. As long as Joel and I have been dating, which have been together, so I think that's 5.5 years I have been a brownie leader. I love brownies. What made me decide to become one is I went home. I went to my mom's house when she was living not on the island. She was like, hey, you have to come home and go through all these bins of your stuff that I have under our house or somewhere that we've been keeping because we don't need them and we're downsizing, and either you come sort through it and decide what you want to keep, or it's just say goodbye. And I was like, no, I have to go, because for a while when I was living away for school, I would bring stuff home in the summer, but then I'd go off to camp, and then I'd come back, and then I'd go off to school again, and so kind of left a lot of really awesome things. I found some really great treasures from my childhood, or my teen years, the platform black sandal things with the fat stretchy strap across. Those were classic. And I found all of my old Girl Guide and Brownie things, my badges, my camp hats, and I thought, are they still doing Girl Guides? I don't know. I'm going to look into that. So I looked into it, and I was like, I would really like to be a brownie leader. Or, well, actually, I thought Girl Guide leader, but turns out brownie leader was the perfect one for me, so that's what I did. And I do it because it changed my life, and if if it weren't for brownies, I would never have gotten to go camping. I never would have learned how to build a fire. All kinds of stuff. And it didn't change my life. It shaped my life. It helped make me who I am today. So I went back after basically a decade of not being a part of brownies. I got back into it, and I love it. And I probably will do it forever and ever. I will have little ones, and I will bring them to brownies, and hopefully I have a girl, at least one, and it will be awesome. Okay. La 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 la. And what is your favorite show right now? My favorite show, I rewatched Friends, which was awesome. I also watched The Mindy Project, which is hilarious. Little off color, but really funny. And then my all-time favorite that I've been going back to and back to and back to lately has been Gilmore Girls. I love Lorelai Gilmore, and I find myself asking, what would Lorelai Gilmore do right now? And I love it. I think Gilmore Girls is spot on, and there's 7 seasons, so there's lots to go through, and it's on Netflix right now. So, okay, and then I think those are all the questions. Oh wait, there was one more question that I got asked. Actually more. I have more than one, but there was one more I was going to answer. From Grand Knit, she goes, "Hi Grace, I just heard about your podcast yesterday and have only watched one episode and saw you play the ukulele. I have a uke but don't play very much. I'm trying to teach myself and wonder how you learned. Do you have any recommendations for instruction books or websites? Also, I'm loving the Anne of Green Gables reading." Thank you so much. That was sweet. Okay, so my recommendation is how I learned. I had a bad breakup, and I had a lot of time on my hands, and I needed to just get through the breakup, and I wanted to pick up a ukulele. So I went to about 6 different music stores up island until I could find the perfect ukulele for the right price. I got one for $25 with a gig bag. Then I had to buy a chromatic tuner, which was $25. So that cost as much as the ukulele. But I got all the gear. I got a little pick and everything. And then I bought this ukulele cords. It is a laminated, I don't know if that helps at all, ukulele cords mini chart. It's tiny, but it has it's the ultimate cheater sheet of all the chords you need. I just Googled online. I picked some songs that I wanted to learn, and you type in for example, Alanis Morissette ukulele chords, and then it will take you to a website, and there's tons out there. I honestly just Google. It's like a song by song basis. I pick a song that I want to learn, and then I Google it, and then just find a website that looks appealing. That's all. And then I already play guitar, so I found it really easy to pick up ukulele based on already knowing how to play the guitar, because the chord structure is pretty similar, just 4 strings instead of 6. So yeah, that I recommend you have fun with it. Just give it a chance. I don't know, but you'll have to do. It's a lot of self-discovery, and you have to find a website that appeals to you visually. I find I'm very aesthetic, so if it doesn't look right, I'm not really interested. I did a lot of I printed off a lot of sheet music and then just practiced a lot, chord charts basically. And then I think there's also if you're really brand new and you need to learn strumming patterns and things like that, I find with ukulele it's a lot of just down up, down up, down up, down up, down up, change chord, down up, down up. It's kind of like the island feel. But I'm sure there's lots of videos on YouTube that can help you too. But I don't know any specifically, except for Julia Nunes. So Julia Nunes. She was a massive inspiration that made me want to pick up the ukulele. So she doesn't do instructional videos, but she plays ukulele and sings, and it's great, and I love her. And someday I will get a really nice ukulele. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe join a ukulele orchestra. So those are the questions that I answered today. Question corner. And if you have questions, pop them in. I hope you got a chance to get to know me a little bit better. Me, talking about me. Being me, talking about me. It's hard not to feel like I'm self-centered. But, really, this is the Juniper Grace podcast. What it is about me. So, hope you like it. And if you don't, I apologize. Okay, so, yeah. That's pretty much it for today's episode. Remember to join in on the knit along. I would love to see what you're knitting. If you already knit an item off of my queue like this month and didn't even realize it because you didn't realize it was part of the knit along, go ahead, add the picture, add a hashtag, tag me. I would love to see what you've got going on. And then at the very end, somewhere around basically the 15th of April, so in a couple weeks here, I will do a big draw for all of the wonderful fun prizes. Also, go check out the Letter Writers Alliance. Join and jump into. We'll start up something to do with just sending each other letters. I think that would be really fun. Maybe we can even have like basically a little pen pal forum. Like I would like to be a pen pal with somebody, and then you guys can private message each other. I'm not gonna regulate it too much just because I'm really horrible at administrative things. Unless there's somebody that would like to volunteer to be like the postmaster of JuniperGraceTube. And you could be like the one that pairs people up, and we could come up with like a questionnaire that people could fill out and we could match people. But I'm really great at coming up with the ideas, but I'm not fantastic at the follow through administrative side. So if there's somebody out there, if you are watching this and you're like, I love to do those things, then yeah, let's do it. And the reason I encourage you guys to join and become an actual Letter Writers Alliance member is because I really love the Letter Writers Alliance. I want it to keep going. It's only $5, really, and you get a cool pin and a crest and a membership card, and it's totally worth it. So I very much encourage you to join. But if you can't afford the $5, that's fine. Just jump in and let's make April a really awesome month. If you can't tell, right now my favorite color is pink. I'm like pink, 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 pink. So let's like send pink stuff in the mail. Wouldn't that be fun? Yes, I think those are all the important recaps. Oh, and keep your eyes peeled. There will be a supplementary Anne of Green Gables chapter reading. We have to find out what happens with her and Mrs. Rachel Lynde coming up. So keep your eyes out. You might just get an episode where it's just me reading Anne of Green Gables to keep the book going because it's been taking a while. I apologize. So, all right, okay. Grace, stop talking. I'm sure that you have finished your beverage long since, possibly 2 or 3. I'm sure you've gotten an awful lot of knitting done. I would love to see that. I love when you guys share your finished projects with the group on Ravelry. Go join Ravelry. Go join our group. Follow me on Instagram. And I guess it's safe to return to your life as normal. Thank you so much for coming along and visiting with me today. And yeah, ta-ta for now. I will see you later. I miss you. Bye.